Darkness will rule the land forevermore, or whatever nerdy bullshit you guys want to say.
Welcome to the Dreams of Consciousness podcast. If you'd be so kind, would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, I'm Harri Kuokkanen, the singer of Hooded Menace from Finland.
And in addition to Hooded Menace, you're also in a number of other bands as well, right?
Yeah. Few bands, yeah.
Do you want to mention which those are?
Right now I'm doing lots of black metal as a solo artist with the name Hail Conjurer. That's the main thing I do besides Hooded Menace right now.
And I believe you're also in Horse Latitudes and Ride for Revenge, right?
Yeah. Horse Latitudes, we haven't been doing anything for several years. It's not an active band anymore, but yeah, that's true.
So as far as Hooded Menace goes, how would you describe the music that you make with that band?
Well, it's shortly put, it's death doom. Pretty like death, yeah, it's sort of a classic death doom. But nowadays we have also more and more of those classic heavy metal influences and the elements going on with the traditional doom and death elements. But it's a like, say, Candlemass or Asphyx, Winter, early Paradise Lost, Autopsy, all those kind of things like doom and death combined. So that's the basic sound of the band.
Now, a few months ago, I spoke to a couple guys who wrote a book about Finnish death metal, and I'll ask you the same question I asked them. Is there a sound, do you think, that identifies a band as Finnish? Is there a common sound that Finnish bands tend to share?
I don't know about that. I think that when I think about the Finnish music I like the most, it's not that I don't think there's those kind of bands share any of kind of a characteristic Finnish sound. I think that it's more like about the originality of the bands and how they sound different from each other. But I don't know. I sometimes hear from the people outside Finland that they kind of feel sort of the darkness and gloominess in Finnish music, but I don't know. There are lots of dark and gloomy music outside Finland too, so I don't know if that's like any kind of a particularly Finnish sound. Yeah.
But you did mention the word original. Is that something that you think all Finnish bands strive to do, to stand out or to do something that's different from the rest of your peers?
I don't know if most of the Finnish bands are original or anything like that, but when I think about the bands I appreciate the most, be them Finnish or from any other country, I think the originality is one of the basic factors I kind of find interesting. But I don't know. I think when thinking about the most original Finnish bands, I think it's not. I don't know if it's about them trying to be like the most original bands. I think they just happen to be like that. But I think, yeah, I think originality is still, when I from my personal view think about the music and the art I appreciate the most and I like the most, I think originality plays a big role in that. Yeah.
So I think most people listening to this podcast will know Hooded Menace very well. Let's talk about the band's history just briefly. The band was formed in 2007, right? By your guitarist Lasse?
Yeah. It was it was his band only when he started the band. Yeah.
So when you say his band only, do you mean he started as a solo project?
Yeah. The first album was played by himself only and recorded by himself only. So the first album, Fulfill the Curse, was Lasse only.
Now, Harri, you yourself didn't join the band until fairly recently, right? Until about 2016?
Yeah. 5 years ago, yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you ended up joining Hooded Menace?
Well, the most boring answer is that Lasse just asked me if I was interested in, but of course, the connection between me and Lasse goes back to when I was doing lots of that Horse Latitudes you mentioned earlier, and we just had released our debut album Gathering, and Lasse found it out and dug it, and he quite shortly got in contact with us and asked if we were interested in doing a split with Hooded Menace that already had a label behind it, Doomens Records, and we were very excited about it because all the members of Horse Latitudes were listening to Hooded Menace back then, and so the split came out, and we did some shows together and stuff like that. So like it wasn't that me and Lasse were in like very intensive contact with each other, but throughout the years we were like every now and then in contact. And it was 2016 when Lasse wanted to have a new kind of a vocal sound to the band, and he wanted to both have the new vocalist doing both the live gigs and the records, and he knew my voice from Horse Latitudes, and he kind of wanted to reach in more onto that direction with the music of Hooded Menace. So he asked if I was interested in, and I was very into that idea. So it just happened. The first thing I recorded was the split song for the split with Algoma, Celestial Dissection, if I remember the name of the song. And shortly after that, we started to recording the album Ossuarium Silhouettes Unhallowed. Yeah.
Horse Latitudes has a lot in common with Hooded Menace in terms of playing slow, heavy atmospheric music, right?
Yeah. Horse Latitude was a really quite slow band. Sure, the Hooded Menace had more of those death metal elements and also the classic doom metal elements, and Horse Latitude was leaning a bit more towards some like a sludgy and even some like primitive black metalish sound. So yeah, so sharing some elements and also differing on the others.
Now, was it a big transition for you to accommodate your vocals to Hooded Menace?
Not too far. Hooded Menace is a different kind of band for me when I compare it to any other band I've been or I am involved with, because it's Lasse's vision, his music, his arrangements, his production, and my job is just to execute like as well as I can to make Lasse's vision true. So it's just like playing an instrument that is my voice. And when I joined the band, Lasse already knew kind of a limitations of my voice, but that wasn't a problem because he that was exactly the kind of vocals he wanted to have in the band when compared to his lower and more sewerish sort of growl he has, and when mine has more of those like a little bit more dynamics to it, and maybe sharing some characteristic with early Paradise Lost sort of sound to it. Then it's we kind of went from that. Lasse knew my voice. I was, of course, it's always a bit adapting. When I think about doing vocals in different bands, it's about adapting my voice to the sound of the other band. So of course it takes some time and some thought, like adjustments, to find a way to do it as best I can. But it's not too far from the other vocals I've been doing. Of course, this is the first band I do only this death metal sort of like growling never done that with any other bands. I always, like with Horse Latitudes, it was more than half of it was this clean sort of a melodic singing, and just part of it was death metal style.
Can you tell me a little bit about the writing process for Hooded Menace? Does Lasse write all the music himself?
Yeah, it's Lasse doing everything. The only thing that he doesn't do all by himself is the lyrics, but it's still like he even does the arrangements for the vocals. So whoever writes the lyrics, it has to follow his rhythmic vision about how the vocals should go. So there's no room, and I like it that way in this band. There's no room for any of us, the other members, to discuss about the writing process or anything like that. So it's Lasse solely, only Lasse doing that, the writing process.
And how does he usually present the material to the rest of the band? Does he send you guys audio files, like demos, so that you guys can learn the parts? Yeah.
And when he sends the audio demos, it's already written like almost completely. So there's usually little or if at all changes after he sends the demo. He usually writes all the songs into as final version as possible, so we can just learn. We can just listen to the demos.
So let's talk about the new album. It's called The Tritonus Bell, and it came out on August 27th through Season of Mist Records. Tell me a little bit about this album.
Well, it's an interesting album in Hooded Menace discography because I think it has the most up-tempo-ish stuff Hooded Menace ever done. It's still not up-tempo. It's more like a mid-tempo when we talk about like death metal or anything, all that stuff. No blast beats, nothing like that going on. But still, like, there are lots of those kind of mid-tempo parts that make it pretty thriving album, like when compared to the other Hooded Menace albums. And in addition to that, there are also more audible classic heavy metal elements going on. So the riffing is Of course, Hooded Menace have always been riff-oriented music, but in this particular album, the riffs are, they have even like, it's not like a like happy music, but it still has more that kind of a like drive to it. So and when the riffs are like that, the sound is also adjusted a bit towards that direction, so that the sound can support the music as best as it can. Yeah, it's a different album, and I like it that way. It's no, there's when the band is doing their sixth album, I think there's no point of replicating the history and the rest of the albums. I think it's great that the band has found a sort of a new page on its history right now.
What was your reaction when you heard the original demos and you heard these more up-tempo parts and these classic heavy metal kind of riffs?
I was really satisfied. I was happy about it. I think it was Corpus Asunder was the first demo, Lasse Sentas, and it was several years ago already. Quite short, not too far from the release of the latest album, and I think I found it fresh already when I heard the first demo track, and with that I was really happy about the Merciful Fate sort of a King Diamond sort of influence we could hear from the demo. So it kind of it was exciting to hear about it, because I didn't know what was the direction the band was going next after the previous album. So it like gave some more sort of excitement to do the next one.
When did Lasse send these demos to you?
I may recall it incorrectly, but I think the first demos were like 2018 or something like that. But some of the demos were sent us like a year after that, not almost 2 years after that. So Lasse was writing the songs, like he didn't write all the songs at the same time, like at once, but he wrote different songs at the different times. So we got some of the demos pretty far from each other. But yeah, I think the first demo was something like 2018.
Would you say he spent about 2 to 3 years working on this album?
Yeah, more or less. Yeah, but for me and the other members, it has been more like the past year. We recorded. It was late 2020 when we recorded. We recorded the instruments and stuff. So that our job started from that point of view. From that point.
Can you tell me a little bit about the recording of the album?
Well, the only sessions I were present were my own sessions with the vocals, but I know they recorded drums. They recorded drums somewhere around Joensuu, which is a city Lasse and other members live right now. So they booked like a professional studio for the drums, and I think they recorded guitars and bass guitars by themselves, and they were reamped and mixed by Andy Laroque, who mixed and like co-produced the sound of the album with Lasse in his studio. And I did the vocal sessions here in Helsinki, where I live, with a friend of mine, Timo Ketola, with whom I share some other. He's been doing like Hail Conjure videos with me and lots of photography, and he plays also. He's a main guy of a pretty good Finnish doom band called Caskets Open, and he engineered the sessions of vocals with me. We did like 3 vocal sessions in Helsinki.
So let's talk about Andy Laroque a little bit. This was the first time that Andy Laroque worked with Hooded Menace, right?
Yeah.
And of course, as we were talking about the album, you mentioned the classic heavy metal influence. Would you say that Andy's music, his work with King Diamond, was a big influence on Hooded Menace?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it definitely, especially on this album. I think Lasse somewhere said he's been saying that even though he loves also Merciful Fate, but King Diamond is his preference from those 2 bands. So he's he's always been a huge King Diamond fan. So when you hear the King Diamond sort of influences on the album, it's definitely like that. You can hear his love of to that band, and so choosing Andy Laroque as a co-producer of the sound and doing the mixing and the mastering of the album was a pretty natural choice when it appeared that he's available to do that, because then we could trust his ears to have the right tone or the right sound, the crisp sound to the guitars, and the sound that those riffs required.
If you had to describe what Andy Laroque brought to Hooded Menace's sound, is that what he did for you guys to make you guys sound more crisp?
Yeah. That was the original idea Lasse had in mind. He wanted to have tighter, crispier guitar sound. For example, when comparing to the previous one, which had a bit more muddy sound to the guitars. Now, when the riffs were tighter, we wanted to have, and Lasse especially wanted to have a tighter guitar sound. So I think that's the drum sound were the starting point for the mixing process, and those were the starting, like the things Lasse pointed out and was asking Andy to do with the sound, and he executed it pretty nicely.
Now, as far as the drum sound goes, how do you compare the drum sound on the Tritonus Bell to the previous Hooded Menace albums?
Let me think. Yeah, the drum sound have always been differing.
Or maybe just the last album that you guys did.
Yeah. I think I haven't been analyzing it too well, like comparing those 2 albums, but from my memory, I think it's like with the overall sound of the previous album as well. It's maybe it's a bit more sort of powerful.
Yeah, it's a little roomier, right? Like it sounds a little bit like
yeah. I think it's it's like having maybe a bit more organic sort of sound to it. But I think it's the drum sound is also supporting the whole sound and the riffs and stuff. So yeah, I haven't been analyzing like in terms of comparing those 2 albums too much, just for the drum sound. So yeah.
Sure. I'm just curious what your impressions are of or how would you describe the sound. So we spoke a little bit about the 80s metal influence on this latest album. There's a bonus track for this album, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people what that is?
Yeah, it's a cover of W.A.S.P song "The Torture Never Stops" from the first W.A.S.P LP, and I think it ended up being a pretty nice one, and we all share our love W.A.S.P, and especially that particular album, which is like a collective favorite of us. So I think it underlines the 80s heavy metal stuff pretty nicely. There was some other cover versions other cover songs we were talking about before we ended up choosing W.A.S.P song. We even did a demo with vocals and all for Judas Priest, one song, but
which song?
It was Nightcrawler.
Nice.
From the it was
But that's a little bit fast for her.
Yeah, but it was a slowed down version.
Cool.
So it wasn't bad, but when it's Judas Priest. As much as we love the band, it's so vocal oriented. It's not just like the riffs and brutal vocals, but it's also has the genius part of the music has lots to do with Rob Halford's vocal lines and the melodies of that. So it just didn't translate that well into Hooded Menace sound. It would have required more of some melodic like support beat guitars or an additional like clean vocal track or something like that. So we even though it was a cool idea, we thought that W.A.S.P fitted better with our sound.
Can you tell me a little bit about your approach when you cover some of these more melodic classic heavy metal songs? For you personally, as you're doing the vocals?
Me doing the vocals. You mean like Hooded Menace songs on this record or the cover?
Yeah, so like the W.A.S.P cover that you guys did, or the Judas Priest song that you guys recorded. I mean, are you just focusing on the rhythm? Do you try to add a little bit more melody?
If it was any other band than Hooded Menace, I would have done Judas Priest cover quite differently. I think with more melodies and stuff, but because as far as Hooded Menace sound has always been pretty rough on the vocal side. It would have been too different for the Hooded Menace sound, I think, to like that far on the melodies on the vocals. So it was basically trying like following the rhythms, the original Judas Priest song, but just doing it like Hooded Menace style, this death metal vocal style, and that was I think that was the thing why it didn't work that well. It would have required more of that, some like more melodic part to it. But when we think about W.A.S.P cover, even though Blackie Lawless's vocals have more melodic part to it, to his vocal lines than the one Hooded Menace has, and I do, it's still pretty simple melody wise. So it was easier to adapt to the sort of a death metal style vocals. It wasn't that different. Of course, when doing a cover song compared to the Hooded Menace song, I feel I have a bit more freedom to my expression, because when I do Hooded Menace songs, I try to follow Lasse's vision about the song as well as I can, and so it's more in detail planned, all the phrasing and stuff when I start to do the vocals. But with the cover songs, be it this W.A.S.P cover song or the previous album's Celtic Frost cover, Sorrows of the Moon, I feel I have a bit more freedom to sort of find my way to do that compared to the Hooded Menace song.
Now, was W.A.S.P a controversial choice? Because I know not everybody can agree on W.A.S.P and whether or not they're really metal.
Yeah, but if there's a controversy about it, I think it's just cool, because everyone should be aware of that band, especially the first LP. It's such a good LP, so if there's some controversy, I think it's just good.
So the album is out now. What's next for you guys?
Well, I don't know. It's such a short time after just a few weeks. The album's been out, so we just the next thing I think we just see where it goes. Who knows? We haven't been playing any gigs in 3 years, so no holding breath on that. But who knows? If I'd be happy to do some live shows for a change. I think it's always like after the previous album release. I think Lasse always starts writing some music, but he's not in a hurry. He's that's not something he does some schedule in mind. So who knows if he's ready to release new material like in shorter time, or should it take more time? Who knows? But I think right now we don't have any other plans besides see how the album release actually goes.
Now, when you say that you guys haven't played shows in 3 years, was that a conscious choice to stop playing shows, or was it just hard to schedule around your guys' day-to-day lives?
No, it was a conscious choice. We did the last shows we did were those Fulfill the Curse anniversary shows in Finland, and the last one in Copenhagen in Kiltan Death Fest. And that was a point that some of the members didn't feel they didn't feel inspired of doing gigs anymore. So we did a choice to have a break of doing gigs and finding maybe some more inspiration to that. At some point, we were supposed to do another anniversary gigs for Never Cross the Dead, the second album, last year, but as we all know, 2020 summer wasn't exactly the best for the gigs, especially any tours around or outside your home country. So we canceled the whole thing. The whole thing was canceled, and it wasn't rescheduled because the anniversary was gone already this year. But I think there hasn't been too much of that inspiration still, so that we would have been too into scheduling any of tours or even one-off gigs. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. It's not that we have a final decision not to play any gigs. It's more like it just has to be something that every single member feels excited about.
So the 6th Hooded Menace album, the Tritonus Bell, is out now through Season of Mist Records. Harri?
Yeah.
How can people order this album?
There are plenty of... Now it's out, I think, in the record stores all around the world, the distributors all around the world. Yet the first final pressing was sold out from the label Season of Mist already with the pre-orders. But the good thing is that in 2 or 3 months, I think maybe early November, something like that, there's another vinyl pressing coming out through Season of Mist. So I think people should all already be able to pre-order. If they missed the first pressing of the LP, they can pre-order the second pressing variations, the colors and the black ones, through Season of Mist web shop. And probably there are some distributors, record stores selling those as well as we speak. And the CD is out on Season of Mist as well, both the regular one and then the box set with the bonus track. And the Finnish death metal label, The Other Records, they released a quite nice looking cassette tape edition of the album recently as well. So you can go checking Season of Mist or your local record shop or the Other Records web store.
Do you want to say anything about the limited edition vinyl versions that are getting repressed?
To be honest, I can't remember which color variations there are. I think there's supposed to be the regular black ones, the ones I prefer, but also some new color variations. Like they usually, the colors are like one color is limited to say 250 copies. So for those who like collecting like different kinds of colors or want to find a exotic color variation, I think they have their chance as well. There were already few different color variations with the first pressing, so now it's going to be different colors, I think, this time.
And which version has the W.A.S.P cover?
The only version that has the W.A.S.P cover is actually the box set of CD. So it's sort of a clamshell box with a pin and a patch and a W.A.S.P cover that has the that's the only one. Oh, of course you can find it from some of the digital platforms, like stream platforms, where you can find where you can listen to the album. I think some of those have the W.A.S.P cover as well.
And if people want to follow Hooded Menace online, what's the best way to do that?
We have a couple of social media platforms we use right now. There's a Facebook and there's an Instagram profiles. The sad thing is that we have both of those already for several years, but they got hacked less than a year ago, and we lost all the followers. So now we're building them again. So on Instagram, go Hooded Menace Official, as well as with the Facebook, you can find Hooded Menace Official. There you can find the latest news, and we post some interviews, we post some reviews, all that stuff. We try to keep people informed about what's going on with the Hooded Menace camp.
Now, Hail Conjurer released an album earlier this year, right?
Yeah, it was released for summer solstice. It was the fourth Hail Conjurer LP. Hail and Fire is the name.
Do you want to say anything about Hail and Fire and how people can follow Hail Conjurer online?
Well, if people use social media, they can find the mentioned Instagram and Facebook profiles for Hail Conjurer. And if people want to check out what Hail Conjurer is about, music-wise, they can go to the Bandcamp. The whole discography is out on Bandcamp, so everyone can stream free any of the album or the split release I've done, and then people can also like order physical copies of stuff. Some CDs, tapes, even vinyl or shirts. And actually, there was just yesterday. There was a new Hail Conjurer released. It's not a split, but a collaborational album with Finnish ritual ambient band called Metsäkirkko. But it's not metal at all. It's more like soundscapes, ritualistic soundscapes, even some neo-folkish sort of and a synthesizer moods and stuff. So it's a pretty different one because it's not Hail Conjurer, it's not Metsäkirkko, but it's a collaborational record. But it was Maailman syöjä is the name of the album, and it was released on digital just yesterday. So if people want to hear that as well, they can go Hail Conjurer Bandcamp.
Why don't you say a little something about Hail Conjurer and what kind of music you make with Hail Conjurer?
It's basically like black metal, but it's not like lots of experimental. It's pretty raw, unpolished black metal, but it also has lots of experimental elements to it. Some synthesizer stuff going on and stuff like that. So basically, it's black metal, but it's not like following any like too. What can I say?
It's more like early black metal, right? Like first wave black metal.
Yeah, it's a bit black metal. It has
a little bit like early Bathory, a little bit.
No, it's more like there are those kind of parts as well, but there are like you can find the more of the left field, the weirder side of black metal going on as well. So it's not like the early Bathory or any of the like Dark Throne stuff. It's more like it's reaching more on the more strange atmospheres than your like typical black metal. But also every Have Conjure album is a bit different from each other. So if someone doesn't like the one album, they can find the other more to their taste. So yeah, I think it's better that people just if they're interested in that, they can check out the music and decide themselves what it is about. I think I like to think that it's just black metal, but my vision of black metal isn't following any like too straightforward tradition of some particular sound.
Very cool. Is there anything else you want to say?
Not exactly. I think yeah, it's been a nice chat.
Thank you so much, Harri.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what's up.